The Last Stand. Grand Admiral Vexa stood before the Silurian Federation's Emergency Council, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with barely contained despair. The massive crystalline chamber, usually alive with the soft glow of 1,000 diplomatic feeds, now cast harsh shadows as emergency protocols bathed everything in blood-red warning light. "The Void Plague has consumed the Centauri cluster," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of billions of lost lives. "Our quantum barriers, our phase shields, our most advanced containment protocols, all failed within hours. This enemy, it doesn't just destroy. It learns, it adapts, it evolves." The assembled representatives of 300 spacefaring species erupted in panic, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of terror. Some flickered between different wavelengths of light, others released pheromones of distress, and still others transmitted electromagnetic pulses of fear. Elder Zix, the ancient silicon-based being who had guided the Federation for over 3 centuries, raised their crystalline appendages for silence. "How long?" they asked, their voice resonating through the neural network that connected the chamber. Vexa's bioluminescence dimmed to a deep indigo. "At current rates of expansion, the Federation will fall within 6 months. We've lost 47 systems in the past week alone. The plague, it's accelerating." The Federation had maintained peace across 12,000 light-years for millennia. They had mastered the art of manipulating matter at the quantum level, learned to fold space itself, and created artificial stars. But none of that mattered against an enemy that turned their own technological advancement against them. "There must be something," Elder Zix insisted, their crystalline form vibrating with intensity. "Some variable we haven't considered, some approach we haven't tried." Vexa's patterns shifted to a frequency indicating grim determination. "There is one possibility, but the Council won't like it." She gestured, and a holographic projection materialized in the chamber center. A small blue-green world appeared, wrapped in swirling white clouds and surrounded by a growing constellation of artificial satellites. "What is this?" demanded Counselor Nix of the energy beings. "Some forgotten colony." "No," Vexa replied. "This is Earth, home to a species we discovered just 18 months ago. We've been keeping them under observation, debating whether to initiate contact." "The Deathworlders." Elder Zix's crystalline form pulsed with shock. "You can't be serious." The chamber erupted again, this time with protests. Everyone knew about death worlds. Planets so hostile that life should never have evolved there. Worlds of constant storms, tectonic instability, and aggressive evolutionary arms races. Worlds that produced species so hardy, so adaptable, and so dangerous that the Federation had strict protocols about engaging with them. "Show them," Vexa commanded, and a hologram changed. Images flashed before the Council. Humans fighting wildfires with nothing but primitive protective gear and handheld tools. Humans diving into raging floods to save strangers. Humans rebuilding entire cities after devastating natural disasters. Humans venturing into space in vessels that the Federation would have considered death traps. These beings, Vexa continued, evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Their bodies can survive radiation levels that would kill most of us. They can heal from injuries that would be fatal to nearly any Federation species. Their minds can process and adapt to new threats with remarkable speed. But most importantly, she paused, her patterns shifting to emphasis frequency. They understand something we've forgotten over millennia of peace: how to fight. "They're barbarians," protested Counselor Nix. "Their history is full of violence and warfare." "Exactly," Vexa replied. "The Void Plague adapts to logical, predictable responses. It learns from patterns and technology. But humans are anything but predictable. They don't just adapt to survive. They thrive on challenges. They don't just solve problems. They find solutions no one else would even consider. And right now, that's exactly what we need." Elder Zix's crystalline form dimmed thoughtfully. You've already contacted them, haven't you? Vex's patterns shifted to acknowledgement. Unofficially. A preliminary discussion with their Global Defense Council. They're willing to help, eager even. They see the Void Plague not just as a threat, but as a challenge to overcome. And what do they want in return? Counselor Nix demanded. Our technology. Our resources. They ask for only one thing. Vexa replied, her patterns showing genuine amazement. The chance to save lives. They call it doing the right thing. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Federation had built its civilization on peace, cooperation, and technological advancement. But against an enemy that turned those very strengths into weaknesses, perhaps they needed the help of beings who had evolved under different stars, who had learned different lessons. Elder Zix raised their crystalline form to its full height. Put it to a vote. Do we formally request humanity's help against the Void Plague? One by one, the representatives cast their votes. Fear of the Deathworlders balanced against fear of extinction. Terror of the unknown weighed against the very real horror consuming their worlds. In the end, the vote was unanimous. The Federation would ask Earth for help. As the Council dispersed, Vexa prepared to send the formal request. She had studied human languages carefully, choosing words that would resonate with their unique psychology. To the people of Earth, the galaxy stands on the brink of extinction. We face an enemy that corrupts all it touches, that learns from every defense, that cannot be reasoned with or appeased. We need warriors who understand battle, minds that think differently, spirits that don't break under impossible odds. We need you. Will you help us? The message streaked across space toward Earth, carrying with it the hopes of countless civilizations. The age of peace was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. Children of storm and steel, General Maya Rodriguez stood at the window of Earth Defense Command's underground chamber, watching holographic projections of the Federation's message play across the reinforced glass. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the Rocky Mountains, lightning illuminating the massive defense installations that humanity had built in preparation for first contact. Just not this kind of first contact. Play it again, she ordered, and the crystalline figure of Grand Admiral Vexa materialized once more, their bioluminescent patterns painting shadows across the command center's walls. The alien's desperate plea echoed through the room, each word carrying the weight of galaxies. The Joint Chiefs of Staff sat around the circular table behind her, their faces illuminated by displays showing the complete Federation transmission. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's foremost xenobiologist, was explaining the significance of the Void Plague's adaptive capabilities. It's not just a weapon or a natural phenomenon, Chen said, her hands moving through holographic data streams. It's almost like a living algorithm, consuming and incorporating everything it encounters. The Federation's problem isn't just that they can't stop it. It's that every failed attempt makes it stronger. And they expect us to succeed where their superior technology failed. Admiral Hassan asked, his scared face reflecting decades of service in Earth's combined forces. Rodriguez turned from the window, stormlight casting her shadow long across the floor. They don't expect us to outtech it, Admiral. They expect us to outthink it, to fight it in ways it's never encountered. The room fell silent as tactical displays showed the plagues spread across Federation space. Entire solar systems transformed into dead zones where the laws of physics themselves seemed corrupted. Look at their civilization, Rodriguez continued. 50,000 years of peace. They've mastered quantum mechanics, faster than light travel, even artificial star creation. But they've forgotten something crucial, something we learn on Earth before we can walk. And what's that, General? Colonel Zhang asked, though his slight smile suggested he already knew the answer. How to adapt when everything goes wrong. Rodriguez activated a new hologram, showing Earth's history of natural disasters, wars, and near-extinction events. Every time humanity has faced destruction, we've not just survived. We've emerged stronger. We don't just solve problems. We learn from them. We improvise. We overcome. Dr. Chen nodded. The Federation species evolved on stable worlds, developed in predictable patterns. But Earth, she gestured to the storm raging outside. Earth never gave us that luxury. We evolved to expect the unexpected, which is exactly why they need us, Rodriguez concluded. The void plague adapts to patterns, to logic. But how do you adapt to something that's already adapted to chaos? Admiral Hassan leaned forward. You're saying we should help them, risk human lives for alien worlds. I'm saying we don't have a choice. Rodriguez brought up new projections. The plague's rate of expansion is exponential. If we don't stop it out there, it will eventually reach Earth. And by then, it will have absorbed so much Federation technology that nothing we have could stop it. The Joint Chiefs exchanged glances. They had spent decades preparing Earth's defenses against possible alien threats. Now those same defenses might help save the aliens instead. There's something else, Dr. Chen added softly. The Federation's medical technology alone could save millions of human lives. Their clean energy systems could end climate change overnight. But more importantly, she paused, making sure she had everyone's attention. This is our chance to show the galaxy what humanity truly is. And what's that? Colonel Zhang asked. Not just survivors, Rodriguez answered, but protectors. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day, yes. But we didn't just learn to fight. We learned to fight for others. To stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. The room fell silent again, broken only by the rumble of thunder outside. Each person present felt the weight of the moment, understanding that their decision would shape not just Earth's future, but the galaxy's. Finally, Admiral Hassan spoke. We'll need volunteers. Once word gets out about the Federation's request, how many do you think will step forward? Rodriguez smiled. Admiral, the harder question will be choosing among them. Humanity has been looking to the stars since we first learned to look up. Now the stars are looking back, asking for our help. We won't just answer, we'll answer in force. The vote was unanimous. Earth would answer the Federation's call. Within hours, Rodriguez was aboard the EDS Prometheus, humanity's newest and most advanced starship, preparing Earth's response to the Federation. She kept it characteristically human, short, direct, and carrying the weight of every hardship that had forged their species. To the Siluran Federation, we hear your call. We understand your need. Earth stands ready to help. Send coordinates for rendezvous. We're coming. As the message transmitted across space, storm clouds parted over the Rocky Mountains, revealing stars that no longer seemed quite so distant. Humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as defenders of life itself. The children of Earth's storms and steel were going to war. Unorthodox solutions. In the crystalline command center of the Federation flagship Eternal Light, Grand Admiral Vexa watched in fascination as General Rodriguez paced the holographic war room, her boots making solid sounds against the normally silent deck. The human's constant movement would have been considered a sign of mental instability among Federation species, but Vexa had learned it was just how humans processed complex problems. Show me the plague's attack pattern again, Rodriguez demanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The hologram flickered, showing the corruption spreading through the Arcturus sector. Federation ships, massive crystalline structures of impossible beauty, fired quantum-locked energy beams at the advancing darkness. The void plague absorbed each attack, growing stronger, its patterns becoming more complex. Stop, Rodriguez said suddenly. There, play it at quarter speed. The hologram slowed, showing the moment when Federation weapons struck the plague. Vexa's bioluminescent patterns shifted in confusion. We've analyzed this engagement thousands of times, General. The plague adapts to each new weapon configuration You're not looking at the right thing, Rodriguez interrupted, something that would have been a grave insult in Federation culture, but which they were learning was just how humans communicated when excited. Look at the space between your shots, the void you're creating. Dr. Chen, who had been quietly analyzing data streams in the corner, looked up. She's right. The plague isn't just absorbing the attacks, it's actively moving toward them. It's hungry. Vex's patterns shifted to indicate deep thought. Yes, the plague seeks out energy sources. That's why our weapons have been ineffective. It consumes them, learns from them. Then let's give it indigestion. Rodriguez grinned, an expression that still unnerved many Federation species. She turned to her communications officer. Get me the Prometheus. Tell Captain Singh to prep the gravity pulse generators for Plan Zero. Vex's patterns flashed with alarm. Your ship carries antimatter weapons. The Federation banned such devices millennia ago. The risks. Not antimatter, Rodriguez assured her. Something much simpler. Something the plague has never encountered because it's too primitive for advanced civilizations to consider. She paused, looking at the tactical display again. Tell me, Admiral, what happens to a complex system when you introduce chaos? Before Vexa could answer, new signals appeared on the display. The Prometheus and its escort of Earth ships had taken position at the edge of the infected zone. Their engines, primitive by Federation standards, pulsed with raw power. What are they doing? Vexa asked, their patterns showing increasing concern. Dr. Chen smiled. Fighting fire with fire, or in this case, chaos with chaos. The Earth ships activated their gravity pulse generators, crude devices that created localized gravitational distortions. But instead of firing them directly at the plague, they created a complex web of overlapping fields, each one slightly out of phase with the others. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Where the plague encountered these chaotic gravity fields, its perfectly ordered patterns began to break down. It tried to adapt, to incorporate the new threat into its evolution, but the fields kept changing, kept shifting in ways that defied prediction. The plague adapts by analyzing patterns, Rodriguez explained, watching with satisfaction as the darkness recoiled from the gravity web. But you can't adapt to pure chaos. It's like trying to memorize static. Vex's patterns shifted rapidly between amazement and confusion. But such a primitive approach, the energy expenditure alone, is exactly what we wanted, Rodriguez finished. The plague is drawn to energy sources, right? So we're not just disrupting it. We're forcing it to chase dozens of contradictory targets at once. It's like giving a supercomputer garbage data and watching it try to find patterns that don't exist. The tactical display told the story. Where Federation quantum weapons had failed, humanity's primitive technology was creating gaps in the plague's advance. It couldn't adapt because there was nothing consistent to adapt to. Each attempt to analyze and absorb the chaotic gravity fields only made its own patterns more unstable. All ships, advance on my mark, Rodriguez commanded. The Earth fleet moved forward in formation, their gravity webs pushing a growing corridor through the darkness. Behind them, Federation ships watched in amazement as a force they had thought primitive and barbaric demonstrated a completely new way of thinking about warfare. I don't understand, Vexa admitted, their patterns showing genuine humility, a rare emotion for a Federation admiral. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your ships are powered by nuclear fusion, while ours harness quantum singularities. How did you know this would work? Rodriguez's smile softened. Because we learned long ago that the most advanced solution isn't always the best one. On Earth, we have a saying. Sometimes you need a sledgehammer, not a scalpel. She gestured to the tactical display. The plague expected scalpels. We brought sledgehammers. Dr. Chen added, it's not about technological advancement, Admiral. It's about perspective. The Federation spent millennia perfecting order and predictability. But Earth taught us that chaos isn't just destructive, it can also be a tool. The command center fell silent as they watched the Earth fleet continue its advance. For the first time since the plague appeared, it was in retreat. The darkness that had consumed countless worlds was being pushed back by ships that the Federation had considered primitive mere days ago. "Send word to Earth," Rodriguez ordered. "Tell them Plan Zero worked. And tell them to prep the rest of the fleet. We're not just going to contain this thing. We're going to drive it back to whatever hell it came from." Vex's patterns shifted to a frequency indicating deep respect. The Federation had sought humanity's help expecting warriors. What they had found instead were innovators who could turn their very limitations into advantages. Perhaps they realized that was the greatest strength of all. Evolution of war. The training arena aboard the Federation station, Luminous Harmony, hummed with an energy it had never known in its 1,000-year history. Where once it had hosted diplomatic simulations and cultural exchanges, now it echoed with the sounds of combat training and tactical discussions. Commander Sarah Chen, no longer just a xenobiologist, but now head of the Joint Human-Federation Combat Integration Program, watched as a group of Federation officers attempted to navigate an Earth-designed combat scenario. Their crystalline forms flickered with effort as they tried to adapt to the concept of unpredictable threats. "You're still thinking too linearly," she called out, adjusting the simulation's parameters. "The Void Plague doesn't follow rules. Neither should you." One of the Federation officers, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix named Zix-9, paused the simulation. "But without proper protocols, how can we ensure optimal response patterns?" Chen smiled, remembering how she'd asked similar questions when first studying Federation technology. "That's exactly the kind of thinking we need to break. Watch." She activated her neural interface, a remarkable fusion of human intuition and Federation quantum technology, and entered the simulation. The holographic environment shifted, presenting a scenario where the Void Plague was attacking a populated system. Standard Federation response would be to establish a containment grid, correct? She asked, watching as Zix-9's form pulsed in agreement. "But that's predictable. The Plague has seen it before. So instead," Chen's holographic avatar did something that made several Federation officers emit frequencies of shock. Instead of forming a defensive line, she scattered her forces in seemingly random patterns, creating what appeared to be gaps in the defense. "You're exposing civilians to danger," protested another officer, their crystalline form vibrating with distress. "Am I?" Chen grinned, an expression that the Federation species were slowly learning to read. "Or am I setting a trap?" The simulation played out. The Void Plague, drawn to what it perceived as weaknesses in the defense, poured into the apparent gaps. But as it did, the scattered forces suddenly moved in coordinated chaos, their apparently random movements revealing themselves as part of a larger strategy. The Plague found itself divided, its ability to adapt compromised by having to respond to multiple unpredictable threats simultaneously. "This is how humanity survived on Earth," Chen explained, ending the simulation. "Not by being stronger than our predators, but by being smarter. Not by having the best defenses, but by turning our vulnerabilities into advantages." Across the station, similar scenes played out. Human military instructors taught Federation species the art of asymmetric warfare, while Federation scientists helped humans understand how to integrate their chaotic strategies with advanced technology. In the station's engineering bay, General Rodriguez stood with Grand Admiral Vexa, watching as human and Federation engineers worked together on a new class of hybrid vessels. "Your gravity pulse technology." Vex's patterns shifted with curiosity. "It's primitive by our standards, but its very unpredictability makes it effective against the Plague. If we could combine it with our quantum field generators." Rodriguez nodded, studying the holographic designs. "And if we add your phase shift technology to our missiles, we could deliver our chaos payloads directly into the Plague's core structure." She paused, noting how the Federation engineers no longer flinched at the mention of weapons. "You're adapting well to warfare." Vex's patterns showed a complex mix of emotions. "We had forgotten something important in our millennia of peace. Sometimes, preservation of life requires the willingness to fight for it." They gestured to where Federation officers were learning human hand-to-hand combat techniques, something that would have been unthinkable months ago. You're teaching us to be warriors again, but we're teaching you too, aren't we? Rodriguez smiled, watching a human engineer work with Federation quantum technology. Your civilization achieved things we only dreamed of. Now we're showing you how to use that advancement in ways you never imagined. It's a fair trade. In the station's tactical center, Dr. James Martinez, Earth's leading expert on the Void Plague, worked with Federation scientists to analyze the latest battle data. The holographic displays showed how the plague was struggling to adapt to humanity's unconventional strategies. It's like an immune system response, Martinez explained to his Federation colleagues. The plague expects to encounter advanced technological defenses, so it developed countermeasures, but against our primitive but unpredictable attacks. It's like introducing a new virus that the body doesn't recognize. And by combining your chaotic approaches with our technology, added a Federation scientist, their crystalline form pulsing with excitement, we're creating something entirely new, something the plague can't predict because it's never existed before. The station itself was a testament to this evolution. Federation quantum technology now worked alongside human AI systems. Elegant crystalline architecture housed decidedly inelegant but effective human weapons. It was a perfect metaphor for the changing galaxy. The marriage of order and chaos, advancement and adaptability. As Chen ended another training session, she received a priority alert. Long-range sensors had detected a massive void plague formation heading toward the Centauri sector. It was larger than any they'd encountered before, as if the plague was gathering its strength for a decisive battle. It's adapting to our tactics, she muttered, studying the data, learning from its defeats. But as she watched her Federation students disperse, their movements now carrying a hint of human unpredictability, she felt a surge of hope. The plague wasn't the only thing that was evolving. The Federation was changing too, rediscovering its warrior spirit while maintaining its advanced civilization. And humanity was growing, learning to temper its chaos with wisdom accumulated over millennia. The final battle was coming, but this time they would face it together, order and chaos, advanced and primitive, wisdom and warfare, united against the darkness that threatened all life. Chen sent out the alert. All forces prepare for combat evolution training. The enemy is adapting. So must we. Dawn of a new era. The combined fleet hung in space above the Centauri sector's core worlds, a sight unprecedented in galactic history. Federation quantum ships, their crystalline hulls now modified with human-designed chaos generators, flew in formation alongside Earth vessels bristling with hybrid weapons. At the fleet's heart, the EDS Prometheus and the Eternal Light maintained a synchronized orbit, their bridges linked by quantum communications. General Rodriguez stood shoulder to shoulder with Grand Admiral Vexa, both commanders watching as the largest void plague formation ever detected approached their position. The darkness stretched across space like a living storm, its patterns more complex and organized than ever before. It's beautiful in a terrifying way, Rodriguez observed, studying the tactical display. It's learned from every encounter, adapted to every strategy we've thrown at it. Now it's showing us everything it can do. Vex's patterns shifted in agreement. The plague has evolved. Yes, but so have we. They gestured to the fleet around them. Look at what we've accomplished together. 6 months ago, my people had forgotten how to fight. Now we stand ready for the greatest battle in Federation history. The tactical display updated as the plague moved closer. Its approach was different this time, more cautious, more strategic. It had learned to fear the unpredictable tactics of its prey. All ships, combat positions, Rodriguez ordered, her voice carrying across the quantum network to every vessel in the fleet. Remember your training. Don't fall into patterns. Keep them guessing. The massive fleet broke apart, reorganizing into what would have looked like chaos to any observer, but was actually a carefully choreographed dance of unpredictability. Federation ships activated their quantum fields, now modified to generate random fluctuations that the plague couldn't analyze. Earth vessels powered up their gravity pulse weapons, their waves synchronized with Federation technology to create cascading fields of strategic disorder. They're responding exactly as predicted. Dr. Chen reported from her position in the tactical center. The plague is trying to analyze our formation, looking for the pattern within the chaos. Then let's give them something really special to think about. Rodriguez smiled. Execute Operation Phoenix. Across the fleet, a new type of weapon powered up, something that had never existed before humanity, and the Federation joined forces. Quantum-enhanced chaos generators, designed to create pockets of pure randomness in spacetime itself. The Federation had provided the quantum technology to pierce reality's veil, while humanity had contributed the audacious idea of weaponizing uncertainty itself. The Void Plague struck first, launching tendrils of darkness that shifted and adapted even as they attacked. But this time, there was no rigid defense waiting to be analyzed and absorbed. Instead, the combined fleet flowed like water, each ship moving according to complex algorithms based on Earth weather patterns and Federation quantum mathematics. Now, Rodriguez commanded as the plague overextended itself, trying to grasp ships that refused to be where they were expected to be. All ships activate Phoenix protocols. The quantum chaos generators fired. Space itself seemed to shudder as areas of pure randomness bloomed within the plague's mass. The darkness tried to adapt, to analyze, to evolve. But how does one adapt to something that defies the very concept of pattern? Energy readings are going crazy, Chen reported, her voice tight with excitement. The plague's core structure is destabilizing. It's trying to analyze the chaos fields, but each attempt only makes them stronger. Vex's patterns pulsed with fierce joy, an emotion their species had rediscovered through their alliance with humanity. Push the advantage. All Federation ships, quantum burst pattern delta random. The battle that followed would be studied for generations to come. The Void Plague, for the first time in its existence, found itself truly afraid. It had evolved to counter order with chaos, only to find itself facing beings who had mastered both. Every attempt to adapt was met with a new form of unpredictability. Every strategy it developed was countered by something that defied strategy itself. The core is rupturing, Chen announced as the plague's massive form began to break apart. Whatever passes for its central intelligence, it's overloading trying to process all the contradictory data. All ships, final assault pattern. Rodriguez ordered, don't let up. Keep feeding it chaos until it chokes. The combined fleet moved as one, their weapons tearing holes in the fabric of the plague's being. Federation quantum beams, once useless against the darkness, now carried randomized frequencies that the plague couldn't absorb. Human gravity pulses, enhanced by Federation technology, created tears in space that the darkness couldn't heal. And then, with a flash that temporarily blinded every sensor in the fleet, the Void Plague's core collapsed. The darkness that had threatened to consume the galaxy imploded, torn apart by its own desperate attempts to understand what could not be understood. As the sensor readings returned to normal, a cheer went up across the fleet. Federation officers expressed joy in 1,000 different ways, their patterns and forms pulsing with victory's light. Human crews celebrated with characteristic exuberance, their shouts carrying across the quantum communications network. In the aftermath, as cleanup operations began and damaged ships were tended to, Rodriguez and Vexa stood together once more on the Eternal Light's observation deck. What happens now? Rodriguez asked, watching Federation and Earth ships working together to contain the last remnants of the plague. Vexa's patterns shifted thoughtfully. Now we rebuild, but not just our worlds, our entire civilization. You've shown us that peace doesn't mean forgetting how to defend what matters. And we've shown you that advancement doesn't have to mean losing touch with what makes you unique. A new age for both our peoples. Rodriguez nodded. The Federation's wisdom and humanity's spirit working together. As if to emphasize her words, a new ship class appeared on the tactical display, the first vessel designed and built jointly by Earth and the Federation. It combined the elegant quantum engineering of the Federation with the robust adaptability of human design. Its name, displayed in both human letters and Federation light patterns, seemed to capture the spirit of this new era: unity. "The galaxy will never be the same," Vexa observed, their patterns showing contentment. "Good," Rodriguez smiled, watching Earth and Federation crews working side by side. "That's exactly what we were hoping for." The stars shone down on the combined fleet, witnessing the dawn of a new era. Humanity had come to the galaxy's aid not as conquerors or saviors, but as partners. They had brought with them not just the strength to fight, but the wisdom to know that true strength lies in the ability to change, to adapt, and to grow together. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun.